Good morning, Metalheads Internet. Welcome to a new episode of the Metal Meltdown, and this is a very special day. This is a very special day. But before we go into exactly why, I want to share a little something with you, Anna.
Okay.
I want to tell you all about this article from Rotten Tomatoes about the most anticipated movies of 2020. You know, like Onward, the new Pixar movie.
Mm-hmm.
With Chris Pratt and Tom Holland.
I'm so excited to see
Yeah, that definitely sounds pretty cool. Quiet Place Part 2. You know, the sequel to a surprise indie horror hit.
Yeah, I didn't expect a sequel, but you know I'm looking.
Jim from The Office flexing his creative muscles. Mulan, the first Disney remake I'm actually kind of excited to see.
It actually looks fun. It looks like a kung fu movie. It's cool.
Yeah, New Mutants. You know, X-Men taking horror taking X-Men into a new territory. I think that could be very cool. You know, Tenet, Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
Don't know what it's about, but you know, Christopher Nolan is a weird fella.
I have some ideas, but it looks cool.
You know what's missing from this list though, Anna?
What?
The greatest film of all time.
And what might
it's fucking Verotika.
Is it the best of all time?
It's the best of all time. My fucking computer is making noises that might end up in the thing. But yes, Verotika! The debut motion picture from motherfucking Glenn Danzig of the Misfits and Danzig fame. The Danzig band of his own name.
Oh, Danzig, you silly, old, horny old man.
That actually sums up the whole review. I've been talking about this a lot on the Metal Meltdown. I've been looking forward to this movie. This is from the Glenn Danzig. Is it Danzig or Danzig?
I don't fucking know.
Yeah, I don't fucking care either.
Someone's gonna yell at you about it anyway.
Oh yeah, someone is. It's Glenn. You know him from the Misfits, legendary hardcore punk band, legendary horror punk band, paved the way for many of the bands we talk about on the Metal Meltdown regularly.
Literally everyone has seen a Misfits shirt because it became like a huge popular thing to have.
Oh yeah, Hot Topic loves the shit out of that skull icon. And on top of that, Danzig has remained a vital figure of hard rock and heavy metal through Samhain, through his self-titled band, which has put out quite a few, dare I say, classic records. How the Gods Kill in particular is a favorite of mine. Not arguing the man's influence at all. But this is Glenn Danzig's debut horror film. And
it's kind of what you would expect from him.
Yeah, I don't even know where to start. This is a movie he's been working on for a long time, from what I understand. It's based on a comic series that he has also created called Verotika. I don't know much about it. I can only imagine it's extremely fucking weird, considering what we just saw.
Yeah. I feel like it would make a little bit more sense than the movies, though.
For a little extra backstory, for those of you unfamiliar with why Verotika would be such an important film for us to discuss, it's not just because it has Danzig's name attached, it's because ever since it debuted last year at I can't remember what the film festival was called, but it was in Chicago. Ever since it debuted last year, people have been calling it heavy metal and horror's long-awaited answer to The Room. And if you don't know what The Room is, you know, go look it up. Yeah. You should know what it is by now, but just in case, it's one of the worst. It's considered to be one of the worst films of all time, but a film so bad that it becomes unintentionally good. With that in mind, why don't we address the obvious right off the bat? Do you think that this movie is so bad that it becomes unintentionally good? Or do you think it's just bad, or do you think it's good? And actually, before you answer, I just remembered this. Because there was actually, I did a fan poll 2 weeks ago. I asked people what they thought we were going to think of this movie. Future Robert, you can put this up on screen right now. So 41% of people who voted said that we will ironically love Verotika because it's on par with The Room. 22% thought that we would think the movie's okay. Another 22% thought that we would hate it and will hope Danzig never makes a movie again. 9% thought that we won't like it, ironically or otherwise, and 6% of the vote thought that we will unironically love it because it is a legitimately good movie.
And that's my answer.
It's a legitimately good. So I don't think it's on the level of The Room, for me at least. But damn, Danzig sure as hell tries. He fucking tries, goddammit.
He does, but it's like...
I
have my own theories on this movie that it's some sort of elaborate porn video just for him. Because it's like...
Oh, God, folks, you've never seen this much tits and blood in a movie. Never. End of story.
I'm pretty sure it's just a porno for Danzig, and that's it.
This whole thing.
Like, I think it's just, like, tailored to his fetishes or whatever.
Like,
he just...
I
don't know.
I have no idea if the comics are like this. I don't know Danzig personally, so I won't comment on that. But I will say that there's very little horror in this horror anthology.
A lot of it doesn't make sense at all. Like, there's... The first one, since it's an anthology...
Should we go in piece by piece?
Yeah, let's start, because there's 3 different little videos.
What's the first one called again? The albino spider?
Yeah, fuck.
That one was, it's interesting, because I think the movie itself starts at its best, and then it progressively gets worse from there.
Yeah, it really does. I was expecting it to get just weirder from that, and that's what kind of disappointed me.
It actually would have worked better if it was done in reverse.
Yeah.
It's always better, this isn't really relevant to Verotika, mind you, but it's always better to start a movie bad and end strong than to start good and end bad.
Yeah.
It's just generally always better. But yeah, the spider albino thing.
But there isn't really like a story. Some things are like implied, but they're not explained.
Yes. The first story, from what we can gather, this woman is being haunted by some kind of spider demon, and it just kind of comes to life.
And then, like, when she sleeps, it goes out and, like, fucks and kills these women.
Yeah, it's not entirely... I mean, it's not really explained, but we have to assume that's what's happening. How the spider demon is brought into our material world is easily one of the weirdest parts of the movie.
Yeah, I don't know where he comes from. I don't know if he was there previously or if she created him.
But, like, how he comes in is... I think, do you know where I'm getting at here?
Yeah.
The eyeball titties.
Yeah.
One of the first things we see in this movie is this girl...
The main character of this story.
And
she doesn't
my
have
God.
nipples.
Yeah, she doesn't have nipples. She has eyeballs
eyes.
For tits.
And then when
eyeball
she cries,
nipples.
that they cry also.
Yeah, and it's her tit eyeball, her tit tears that I'm laughing just going nuts. It's her tit tears that create birth the spider creature.
I want to make
it's a CG spider that comes across the room, and that a single tit tear lands on it, and it morphs into a human being. He kind of looks like, what's the name of the fish monster from Hellboy?
I want to make a perfume called Tit Tears. The what? From what?
The fish monster from Hellboy. He's played by Doug Jones.
God, I don't know.
But it's like if that and like Dr. Octopus were fused into one, and then someone tried to make a shitty cosplay of it.
Like someone from someone who's learning special effects, like a really beginner student in special effects, put together the suit and costume.
Oh yeah, and we will discuss the technical aspects after, because there's so much to talk about there. Just as far as the story is concerned, this one makes no sense at all. I'm not sure why this demon is doing what he's doing. I'm not sure why he's attached to this girl. He goes on a bunch of killing sprees, and the police are just like, we're gonna call him La Neckbreaker. Like...
For some reason, everyone's French and has a shitty French accent.
It's horrible. It's like a really bad high school play that got turned into a porno. Like, it's that level of acting. It's insane. God, there's not much else to talk about in regards to that except the technical stuff, but I want to do all that in one cluster because there's just too much to talk about there. I think, I can't speak for you, but I think the second one was probably the one that made the most sense.
It did, because there was
the
actually
change of face.
There was a character who had a motivation.
Yeah.
so like this woman, apparently she has some sort of deformity on her face, so she goes around cutting off the faces of other women.
There's an idea there. Yeah. There's something there that could actually be materialized.
And of course she works at a strip club. So
yeah,
of course that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty like the most of that video is just staring at a strip club.
Yeah,
like
the amount of time we actually spend with this girl, learning her motives and seeing what she's doing, is nothing compared to the amount of tits in this one scene. And we keep coming back to the same strip club with the same 5 or 6 dudes in the bar, and the same girls doing the same dances, the same super loud, annoying rock songs being played. One of the songs I pointed out to Anna probably has one of the worst fucking riffs I've ever heard in my life. It was just so fucking bad. And it's just, I think at one point we were just like, how did these guys have enough money to go to a strip club every fucking night? Like, that became the thing we were focused on. Because the movie just wouldn't focus on the actual plot.
Yeah, I was just like, get to the point, you know? You can use a strip club as a point of telling the plot, but, like, can we get to the plot? Can we figure out what's happening? Like, just do something.
Oh, this one part of the movie, more than any other part, was just an excuse to show off tits. That's what it came down to.
That's the entire point of this anthology.
Oh, I know, but like this part specifically.
You just think this one? What about the other one?
Oh, I'm not saying I am not saying that they're all not doing that. I'm saying this one specifically.
This one was just like, yeah, it
specific. Like, we spent several minutes watching these girls do their full blown routines.
It's like someone just went into a strip club and recorded it.
I felt like I was at a strip club. I felt like I was at the rock pile, and it was like a weird strip karaoke night.
It's kind of like a fucking depressing strip club, too.
Honestly, it was just ugly. It was just like,
really bad.
It was the same 5 guys just hanging around, and it was just, these 5 guys are like just clueless and directionless, too. You got this one guy wearing a cowboy hat that says fuck in like gold lettering. He's just throwing dollar bills everywhere. You got this other guy who looks like a fucking coke binged Miles Kennedy. And he's like, oh, I can't have, no, I'm married. And it's like, well, why the fuck are you even here? And then 2 scenes later, he's fucking getting a private lap dance from someone.
Yeah, but that doesn't make sense because, like, you're still looking at naked women, so it's like, why would you even say
that's what I mean,
that?
why is he even there? Dave & Buster's is down the street, dude, like, and I know we said we were going to talk about the story, but, like, my god. There's nothing to talk about. There's an idea that's presented, but they never do anything with it.
There's a cop who tries to stop her, but eventually she just ends up getting away.
The cop was like, he has this total freak out moment near the end too. It's so ridiculous. I think I will say this one part of the movie, this one short film chapter, whatever the fuck you want to call it, gave me one very real legitimate laugh. Where this girl is trying to stall this cop from entering the strip club, and she's like, you can't go in there, there's naked women. And he's like, yeah.
He's like,
yeah, of course. I gotta be honest, that was like a very real, legitimate laugh for me. But that was really it. I mean, the short film kind of ends on a cliffhanger, it doesn't really go anywhere, and then it kind of lumbers on into the third movie, which is just a collection of nonsense.
I think there's barely any dialogue, and it honestly put me to sleep. I think
you were struggling with that one.
It's like, and the costumes are the worst too, because it looks like party package or nonsense. Like, it's so bad.
There's not much to talk about as far as story is concerned with this last chapter.
It's kind of
this
like,
girl. She's kind of like Elizabeth Bathory.
She's basically Elizabeth Bathory.
It's named what was it called? Drukija Contessa of Blood or something. But she's basically just sacrificing virgins and drinking their blood.
And
that's it.
Yeah.
Why? Why? Because she wants to look hot. That's why.
But there's like nothing else that happens.
We literally spend multiple minutes watching her drink blood, and then multiple more minutes staring at herself in the mirror, and then multiple more minutes of her walking down a hallway. Like, this part of the movie literally has nothing going on. Although it does open with maybe some of the best / worst CG in the whole fucking movie.
Fuck, it looks like some PS2 shit.
And
like, it's so bad.
With that in mind, I know you've been biting your tongue. With that in mind, let's finally get into the technical shit, because that's the real star of this movie. This entire film, the way it's lit, the way it's shot, the way it's written, the way it's acted, the way it's directed, this is like porno quality, straight up.
It is, yeah.
And honestly, I'd go as far as to say that I have seen porns that are better lit, directed, written, and shot than this. Straight up. It really was kind of astounding. There isn't a single technical element of this film that is good at all. Objectively, there isn't.
No, it's just...
Like, that CG shot in the opening of Contessa was just horrible.
Oh my god.
All the CG's so bad. Like the CG fire at the end when they're throwing one of the virgin's bodies away.
That's not even like CG. That's like After Effects.
Yeah, it's horrible.
That's like Adobe. That's like what you do in Adobe After Effects. You add fire. Like, you couldn't just build a fire.
Honestly. Yeah, bonfires are too expensive, Anna. And, like, so many of the other effects, like, this sequence where the albino spider morphs into, like, a humanoid creature looks terrible. It looks like leftover effects from, like, a fucking music video. Like, the prototype for something.
Yeah, like some edgy 90s rock band was making a music video, and it's, like, this sad, depressing thing about a spider. That's what it looks like. Like, it's some shit 90s...
Oh, and all everything looks fake. Everything. All the sets. You can
tell, like, there's...
You could see the plastic.
You can tell that they're on sets. Like, there's nothing, there's no camera, like, mysteriousness about it. Like, you just know that everything's fake and they're on a set.
Oh, it's just kind of... Even the apartment in that first movie, it doesn't even look like... There's no photos anywhere. There's no shelves. There's no... When they open the fridge, there's nothing in it. It's just, like, this empty gray room. Like, they just went on Kijiji and rented an apartment for a single day and then left.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how else to explain it. That might be the only real part of the movie, ironically. And the audio is mixed terrible. I can barely tell what anyone is saying for most of this movie because the audio is mixed terribly, and on top of that, most of the characters are doing accents.
Yeah, I can't fucking understand that.
I literally... The only time I can point out when people are saying stuff is when they're, like, looking into the camera and they'll say something like... They'll say, like, fuck, or drink her blood, or something like that. Like, that's the only time you understand what anyone's talking about. Not that you want to understand it, because, my god, it's written so badly.
Yeah,
like,
it's not like it adds to anything.
There is literally a sequence where a monster stands in an alleyway, and this girl apparently doesn't see him, despite the fact that it's broad fucking daylight. And he's like, I want to fuck you in the ass and snap your neck. And she's like, are you joking? And it's like... Who cares if he's joking? If you hear that, run. If someone said... It doesn't matter what the context is. If someone said that to me, I would fucking run.
Yeah, that's not a question. When a man in an alley asks you something, you like that, you run. Like, you don't ask questions, you run.
I don't care if it's April fucking Fools. Run. And Contessa, when she starts getting blood hungry, just starts to ramble. God, it's just such a mess. Can we talk about the costumes?
The worst one, like I was saying, the worst one was the Contessa one, because...
She had, like, these foamy shoulder pads.
Yeah, holy fuck. Her dress was made out of, like, some sort of rayon material that was see-through, and it looked really cheap. Like, it just looked like they took stuff from Party Packagers and cut it up and just put it on her.
Oh, yeah,
like, it just
exactly.
looks really bad.
And this goes for everyone, too. Like, there's this recurring character that shows up in between the chapters. She's wearing nothing but, like, a red cape.
And a bodysuit
and
that's
like,
see-through.
And that's fucking it.
And, like, these cheap horns.
And whenever someone has, like, prosthetics or, like, like, something like, their heart fell out or something, you can, like, see the seams where it's attached to the person's body.
Yeah.
You can see their actual body underneath it sometimes. When people are lying down and they're supposed to be dead, you can still see them breathing and visibly moving. At one point, the girl in the first chapter blinks, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah.
Like, she's visibly alive, and they're like, yep, she's dead. And it's like, what the fuck?
Like, when they were showing the shots of the girls that lost their face and everything, the kind of, like, it looked so bad. I don't even know how to explain it. It looks like they have Twizzlers on their face.
Honestly.
With, like, red jelly. Like, it just does not look like someone friggin' took their face off.
No, it really doesn't. And that's weird, because, like, you would think that a man like Danzig, who loves horror, and granted, he's not a huge name, but he's big enough that he should be able to assemble some decent resources to get this done. A good horror film should at least have practical effects down. And there's not a single effect that is good in this film. Nothing. And Jesus Christ, the actors as well. Oh my God. We somehow haven't talked about the actors at all.
The girl at the beginning.
No!
Yeah. That fucking deadpan ass look.
I am certain that every single actor in this film is a fucking porn star or stripper. Like, it's that level of acting. And the girl in the beginning in particular, there's a point where she's just lying on the floor, face down, and she just gets up and goes, "No!" And
she doesn't look frightened or anything.
No, there's nothing.
She just says no loudly, and it's
her lips are always so puckered, and you can never understand what she's saying.
Botox, that's why.
Oh,
she has a really bad Botox job.
And like she goes to a porno theater to escape the spider demon that apparently haunts her in her sleep.
She's like depressed, I guess, because her friend died, and then like she walks into this porno theater and starts falling asleep there, and all these guys like are trying to touch her. Like it's just,
it's
like
so
really
weird.
Awkward.
It's so fucking weird.
They look like kids trying to touch a puppy. Like they just look weird. They're just like
wow, like they've never seen a woman before.
And they're like, I want to touch her next. It's my turn.
And
now.
when she wakes up, it's just like, yeah, what's your ticket say? But when she wakes up, she doesn't go, "Oh God, these fucking creeps are touching me." She goes, "No, stop it." Are you fucking kidding me? Like, and when she goes to the cafe and she just sits down and she doesn't order anything, the waiter comes over and he's not even looking at her. He's obviously looking at cue cards off screen. Fucking obviously.
The worst French accent in the entire fucking thing.
And she's like, will that be all for tonight? And she's like, yeah, I'm done. And then he fucking leaves. And like, it's like, oh, she didn't even order anything. Did I miss something? Like, and that does, by the way, the editing is terrible. It's hard to tell what's actually happening at points in this movie. There's this point where the face killer lady, sorry to detract, we'll get back to the acting, I promise you. But the face killer lady, what the fuck, mystery girl they call her. She's behind this cop, and she's got him by the neck, and she cuts his neck right across here. And then suddenly he shoots in front of him, and he manages to hit her, even though she's behind him.
But it's weird. I guess it's implied that she started running away after that, but we don't see that happen.
Yeah,
so we have no idea what the fuck's happening.
Show it. You gotta show that stuff. And there's like other parts where it's like the spider demon will be visibly, that same alleyway sequence we were talking about. He's visibly in the alleyway, and then in the next shot, he isn't. And then there's one shot in the third movie where Contessa's walking through the woods just because, I'm not really sure why, and there's some fucking guy sitting in the back, like, on his lunch break.
Yeah, like, just a random guy.
Like, as far as, he wasn't wearing, like, medieval garb. He was like
literally just some dude.
A crew member or something. Like, he's just there. It was fucking, it's insane.
That's amazing. It reminds me of that thing in Cool Cat where the guy came out of his house and then walked back in.
That's exactly what I was thinking of. That's exactly what I was thinking of. Oh my God. And like in the second film, when the face killer goes into this blonde lady's apartment, and like of all the actresses in this film, this one is easily the most porn star-ish.
Yeah.
Like she's got huge honking fucking tits and like blonde hair, and like the face killer breaks into her home and she's like, "What's going on?" And she's like, "I'm gonna cut off your face." And she's like, "No, don't do that." And like, she just sounds like sleepy.
I know, she's not like scared and screaming and
"Oh no, don't do that." And then like there's this other girl who's like a detective, and she just like, "Sarge, I found this card on the floor." And that's what brings the cop to the fucking strip club where Mystery Girl works. And it's just everything is so bad. There's so much bad to talk about.
I kind of wish it was, like, so bad that it was good. Like, that's what's disappointing to me. I wish it was so shit that it was good.
I think in a lot of moments it is. Especially in those first two sequences.
I watched the first two ones, but the last one I'm not fucking watching again, because that was just too boring.
Yeah, it really dragged on. Like, nothing fucking happened. The only thing you can really talk about is just how, like, fake and pointless everything is in that film.
Like I said, I just think it's like some elaborate Danzig porn fetish thing for him.
Yeah.
Especially the last one, because there's barely any dialogue. We're watching her bathe a long time. She's staring in her mirror a long time.
This movie gets by a lot on blood and tits. Like, take a shot every time you see someone's fucking tits in this movie, eyeballs or not. I promise you'll be drunk by the end of this fucking picture. I promise you. And there are multiple repetitive sequences in that last chapter, especially. There are 2 sequences where Contessa will slit someone's throat and drink their blood directly from the throat, and both of these sequences they're both so long.
Yeah.
They both go on forever.
For me, that's this is some sort of fetish that Danzig has for sure.
Yeah.
Like that.
I'm sure these girls, they were happy to be in a movie that didn't require them to suck dick, but goddamn. It's just a complete mess. It's hard for me to even sit here and try and focus on one specific thing, as I've tried to do, because whenever I think of something, I just oh my god, that was so bad. I'm oh, let's save the technical stuff for later, and then I'll sit here and think, oh my god, but I gotta talk about that one fucking thing.
I know, because
it's just such a mess. It's an overload of horrible filmmaking. Don't get me wrong, I've never made a fucking movie. I don't know. Good for you, Danzig. You made a movie. I didn't. I'll give you that. But this is some basic shit that he has fucked up from the get-go. And this isn't a case where we can blame an executive coming in and fucking with his vision.
Yeah.
This isn't the case where we can blame the source material per se, or maybe we can, but the point is, Danzig is to blame. He wrote this movie, he produced this movie, he directed it, it's based on his comic. I'm willing to bet he fucking funded it, considering how much money is put into this. This is a cheap movie.
There's basic things that you need to do when you have a movie, is to establish characters, establish motives, establish location. You need to have a plot. And
it doesn't matter if it's an anthology film. You can do all of that, and The Ballad of Buster Scruggs is a great example.
Fucking The Simpsons has 15 minutes on an episode. They'll establish everything. It doesn't matter how long something is. You can still establish.
Oh yeah. And I'm thinking, as far as anthology films, look at something like The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, where you know everything that's going on with every character presented in there. You know what they're doing, why they're doing it, and there's some great sequences in there, like the gold mining prospector who goes mad in the West looking for gold, the actual Buster Scruggs segment where he's fucking terrorizing this town and he gets outgunned. It all makes sense. You understand where everyone's coming from. This, I don't understand really anything. In fact, come to think of it, I don't really even know a lot of their names. It just occurred to me we've been calling them Girl and Spider Monster this whole time.
Yeah. They don't say much.
I can tell that Danzig cares. I can tell. I don't think this movie would exist, and I don't think he would have been involved with this if he didn't care. But he just clearly doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Honestly, it's that simple. In that sense, this is on par with The Room. Because Tommy Wiseau as well. That man had no idea what the fuck he was doing with that movie. At all. Mm-hmm. And it fucking shows. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. But what The Room has over this is that The Room... and it colossally gets stranger and weirder and stupider. Plus, you're following Tommy through the whole movie, and you're seeing him. The movie's focusing on him. The problem with this anthology format is we're never really growing with any of these characters. And instead of getting progressively weirder, the thing also gets progressively more boring. That last chapter really did slow... It brought everything to a screeching halt.
How long was it? 20 minutes, maybe?
The movie as a whole is barely 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Barely. Which tells me that they were really stretching for time.
It would have had to been 25, 30 minutes, maybe?
Tops. Couldn't have been any more than 30.
It felt so fucking long.
And I'd love to have a talk with... this is the one name I did catch. I made a note of remembering this name. Brian Cox, the editor of this film. You and me need to have a talk, buddy. There are multiple sequences that are going on for way too long. If you trimmed 2 to 3 minutes off of most of the major sequences in this movie, you would have enough time for another short film, and you'd lose no information whatsoever. That's insane. Like, it feels like literally just like, shit, we need to fill 10 more minutes of time for this to be legally a motion picture. Okay, well, we'll just shoot another scene in the strip club. We'll do another scene where this girl drinks blood.
I feel like that's what they figured out when they were filming Contessa. They're like, oh, these 2 films aren't long enough, so now we gotta stretch it out with this one.
Honestly. And, like, Man, I mean, look, Danzig has not exactly been on a career high these last few years. His last few solo albums have been crap, in my opinion. And congrats, the Misfits shows have been going well, but let's be honest, those are going to come to an end eventually because he fucking hates Jerry Only, the bassist, the sole leader of this whole thing. So this is really all he's got, and this has been his baby for a long time. This and that fucking Elvis cover album that he's supposedly still working on. And if this really is his baby, if this is what he's putting his maximum effort and energy into, then holy fuck, Danzig, it's time to retire. It's fucking time.
What would have been better is if he invested in making, like, a dark adult cartoon. And
that might have been neat.
And kind of adapting it that way.
Yeah.
But that would probably take more money to do.
I think that would work better with the kind of thing he's trying to make.
Yeah.
He's trying to make some super hypersexual 70s horror.
Yeah.
And I think that would actually work better in an animated format, especially when he clearly doesn't have enough money to make these sets and these costumes and these effects.
But animation can get expensive.
That's true too. I think maybe what should have happened, frankly, is he should have just been a producer and someone else should have directed this. And it wouldn't have been difficult to find some horror fan that would have been dying to work with Danzig. I promise you that wouldn't have been difficult. For that matter, he could have reached out to his peers. You know, Rob Zombie's directed a ton of, maybe not great. That would have been
so fucking smart to have Rob Zombie help him out.
I don't think Rob Zombie's a great director, but he is objectively more successful.
He knows the basics of a horror film. I actually like House of a Thousand Corpses. I actually like that movie. But yeah, he knows the basics of a horror movie.
For that matter, fucking Slash has his own production company. I know that Slash is a Misfits fan. Guns N' Roses has covered Misfits before. Randy Blythe has been in films himself. Tom Araya's a big horror fan and a big Misfits fan.
You know,
Corey Taylor would have gotten involved with this. Corey Taylor's been doing all kinds of stupid shit recently. He was in that fucking Nostalgia Critic thing, for God's sakes.
Remember when we were seeing Rob Zombie and then he played like an advertisement?
Oh, he played a trailer for his movie halfway through the fucking concert. I mean, for God's sakes, can you imagine this in the hands of, like, Marilyn Manson? For that matter?
Yeah.
Manson's a huge Danzig fan, and Manson's a decent director. The few things he's done are actually really fucking good.
Putting his money behind there too. It could have had a little bit more quality to it.
Why would Danzig not think to use these connections and make something a little bit more professional? Or pull from these different inspirations, pull from these different people, these different voices. I don't know why he decided to do all this by himself, but at the end of the day, that is the problem. He does not have the talent, the education, the resources, and frankly, the money to make this a good movie. Passion or not, he's just not capable, and it shows. He can't act any of these fucking people to save their fucking... direct them, I mean. He can't direct any of these actors to save his fucking life. Mm-hmm. He can't make a fucking... blood bag or whatever to save his fucking...
Nothing is scary.
No, nothing.
It's supposed to be horror, but it's not.
We got more laughs than we did. And after a while, they weren't intentional laughs either. Or unintentional, I should say. Like, I don't know, man. This is just a very weird, confusing movie. I would say that I probably like it more than I dislike it. But would I watch it again? Not unless I was, like, really fucking drunk.
Yeah.
Like, maybe if we were to do that drinking game I talked about, but that's like...
Yeah, and take a friend over here and be like, yo, you gotta see this movie.
You know what?
We gotta watch their reactions because we know what's gonna happen.
Oh, you know what? Maybe we should watch it again with Moose, for that matter, because he would go nuts for this.
Yeah, I would come here and watch him freak out.
But, like, other than that, you know what? Okay, one more thing. It would actually be maybe kind of fun to see this in a midnight screening, you know? Like how people go to see The Room at midnight screenings, and like that might be kind of fun just because of the environment. But as far as watching this in a professional theater, as far as watching this at home, I don't know. It's just not really worth it. We rented this for $5, and that in retrospect might have been too much. I think out of 5, I would probably give this like a 1. A semi-enthusiastic 1, considering the fact that there are legitimately some funny moments here. But, I mean, that doesn't change the fact that this is still a terrible film. There's not a single...
I feel like he should have just picked one story he wanted to make and make it into a full movie.
Yeah.
Instead of picking these 3 where nothing makes sense.
I'm curious what the rest of the Verotika comics look like.
Yeah.
If this is what this fucking adaptation of a movie looks like. What would you give this out of 5?
Honestly, I would give it a 1 also.
1 as well? Yeah, I can't say. I highly doubt it. I was hoping that I would actually really enjoy this a lot more. And of all the films we've seen on Metal Meltdown that have been described as the room of the heavy metal's room, this definitely fits the bill the closest. But I don't know. It's the room was just kind of this lightning in a bottle moment, and as much as Danzig unintentionally captures some of that magic, even he can't live up to that legacy. He can't. Even if he had tried to, he just doesn't have the resources or talent. It's that simple. And I don't mean any disrespect. I mean, good for you, Danzig. You made a fucking movie. I'm happy that you can do this at this point in your life, but my God.
I'm not coming here to be like, oh, he's shit.
No.
But, it's just...
mad respect for the guy.
Yeah.
Mad fucking respect. I think it's safe to say that a lot of what we do would not exist without him.
Exactly. He's iconic, but it's like this movie is just... It's just kind of sad. I don't know.
Next time around, I would like to see maybe someone take some of these ideas and do it their way. Like maybe bring in a Rob Zombie. Bring in a young horror director for that matter. There are tons of really great directors in horror right now. Doing a lot of cool, exciting things. You know, like horror is in a bit of a renaissance, I would say, right now. There's so many people that you could pull from and bring in to help you work on this. If they're serious about doing another one, which they seriously imply in the ending that there will be another one, then Danzig, for the love of God, reach out to some of these people. I'm not expecting Jordan fucking Peele to show up.
I would like the Rob Zombie, though, because...
But Rob Zombie makes sense. Rob Zombie makes a lot of sense.
He has a lot of movies under him. He, he knows how to make a movie. He knows how to make a movie. And he knows horror, so it'd be perfect.
At the very least, you could get Rob Zombie to fund it.
Yeah.
Because, my God. That's really the biggest thing, is this is just so fucking cheap. Even if the script was dynamite, they got nothing to work with.
I literally have better costumes at my house. You've seen the stuff I have.
We could probably make a better horror movie ourselves with my with my busted Samsung phone and your fucking I have a collection of oddities and shit.
I have a good camera.
Honestly, it's just kind of pathetic. I don't regret watching this. I wouldn't call that high praise.
No, I would say you should at least watch it just for the experience.
Especially if you're a Danzig fan.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a horror fan. If you're looking... Yeah, if you got a bunch of friends over, order some pizza, chicken wings, fucking... Get some beer, get some whiskey. You'll have fun.
Watch this and then watch a really good movie like Get Out. Because
that's not even fair to bring up Get Out, though. That's not even fucking fair.
It kind of eases you into a horror movie, because it's if you're bringing over someone who doesn't really watch horror that much, at least you can be like, haha, this is weird and silly.
I will say though that there's a part of me that is a little bit iffed with this movie, because horror is in such a renaissance because of movies like Quiet Place and Hereditary and Get Out.
God, Hereditary was
fucking amazing.
Sorry to go over. I was just thinking about that movie when you showed it to me.
This is easily the most random, jumbled review we've ever done. But it's just because there's so much going on, and we just can't really focus on anything, much like Danzig himself. I guess that makes it the perfect review with that in mind. If you ever wanted to watch 90 minutes of really bad practical effects, tits, blood, and some very blatant sexism, then sure, I guess you'll love this movie, ironically or not. But if you're not watching it ironically, there's really no reason to watch it at all. So, 1 out of 5, terrible. You got anything final to add to this?
No, I'm just fucking tired now.
Are we gonna watch a good movie after this?
Yeah, I want to watch something better. I need to wake up.
You need to we need to revitalize ourselves.
I wish we got cupcakes when we were at Terra. I lied. I wish I had cupcakes. You're like, did you want anything? I said no, and I walked out. But I regret it.
We prepared for this. I got like a bottle of vodka, and we got junk food and stuff. And we went to the Chinese store, and we were gonna buy a bunch of chicken wings, and they didn't have any. So then I thought, well, we'll get some noodles and General Tao. And then I was like, what do you want to do? Do you want to stay here? Do you want to get Wendy's? And then you were just like, Wendy's. So, yeah. Jesus, this is probably going to be 40 minutes long. This movie sucks. It's everything I expected it to be. Not as funny. I expected it to be funnier.
Yeah.
But... hey, I wasn't expecting a masterpiece, and Danzig definitely did not deliver a masterpiece.
Yeah.
So, congrats, you technically delivered on that front, Danzig. Yeah, I think that's officially it. I need a drink.
Yeah.
Next time, different movie, different whatever. Go watch Get Out. Go watch Hereditary. Go watch something.
God, I want to rewatch Get Out.
Unless you have like beer, and if you've got a lot of beer and a lot of friends over, have fun.
Yeah.
Seriously, you'll have a fucking blast with this. Laugh at the terrible acting, the terrible effects, the terrible direction, but that's it. Just. I don't fucking know. I'm done.
It's great to test the waters for a first date.
Man, if you.
The shit I've shown you.
If you show this to a fucking girl and she still likes you after that, fucking tie that girl down, man. You found the one. You have found the fucking one. Or boy. Or whoever. I don't fucking care. Next time, something else.